Hi, I'm Rachel, and this is my page 112 tag video for March 2025. This is also my Buzzwordathon pick video for March 2025. I'm taking part in Books and Lala's Buzzwordathon challenge, particularly the covers challenge for this year, because I have this very large book haul, the Raid the Shelves book haul that I went to back in September of last year, trying to get through those books. Anyway, if you want to skip to that part of the video, I will leave the timestamp right over here. Anyway, the page 112 tag is a TBR game I've been playing for a fair bit longer. The tag was brought to BookTube by Sean the Bookmaniac. He based it off of a French literary prize wherein the judges comprised the long list of the prize solely by reading page 112 of the books in contention. All of these books are, I think, generally literary novels. Page 112 is usually around the middle of books, and it's supposed to be past all of the polished for editors pages where you get to the raw, real writing, and without the context of the rest of the story, technically speaking, you only have what's on the page and the writing on the page to go by in judging it. So I have been using this tag since the beginning of COVID to slowly whittle down my physical unread shelves while, building them back up again. I have this handy-dandy Books and Cats mug. It has pieces of paper in it. These pieces of paper are titles on my shelves that I acquired in 2024 or earlier. And each month I pick out 3 of these pieces of paper at random, then read page 112 with you, and then decide which of those books will make it onto my month's TBR. Or at least that's how I play the game most months of the year. Every 4th month of the year, I take a step back and look at the runners-up books for the past 3 months and pit those 3 against each other. This is a fun way for me to have to do less post-production work. I've timed it so that it specifically aligns with my birthday month in July, NaNoWriMo in November, and then also in March. The sad thing is, of course, I don't get to pick out pieces of paper, which is pretty fun and spontaneous as well, but what can you do? You can't have both worlds at once. But yeah, I'm excited to get into this, and without any further ado, let's go back in time. Fucking Ascended Saints. We'll have to get there before they do. Where are the vestiges exactly? I'm not entirely sure, said Gurral. I never intended to retrieve them, so I didn't pay much attention. Danok stared at Em and then said, I should just turn you in. Gray, having used the last minute or so to muster up more of a frown, dropped her towel and crossed her arms. I should turn you both in. Do you think that permit will be approved once everyone knows where those vestiges are? Danok and Gurral both turned to stare at her. We had a deal, she said to Gurral. When we made that deal, Gurral said very patiently, we didn't know about people digging up the ruined glass, did we? You won't turn us in, said Danok dismissively. And to Gurral, she'll get over it. And you'd better remember where you put those vestiges. He blinked and looked off into the distance, brought his focus back to Gray and Gurral. In the meantime, I have to get ready for a party. Tokris Ifesta's naming is tonight. What? Gray was startled out of her posed anger. Did Okris finally make a choice? Okris was in Gray's age, had been a quiet child, ill at ease in large groups. Gray had liked them, but once she claimed her own adult name, she'd seen very little of Okris. He had almost forgotten them. Danok gave a short laugh. I thought she never would. Okay, so I feel like, I have these notions about reading from science fiction and fantasy versus literary fiction where, it's so plot driven that it's kind of hard to read, more difficult to read things out of context here. Although, maybe that's just an excuse. What I do know is that we're starting in the middle of an argument, so that's always a little off-putting when you don't know who the people are. They're arguing about, I think, the location of these vestiges. I did read a little bit of the flap, but I don't know a lot of details about it. And there is just inborn drama about, a deal between 2 of them that's apparently being broken. There's threats of some sort of punitive action. And finally, we completely changed topic to like a birthday party or a naming party, which, I don't know, felt very abrupt to me. You know, reading this after the last book, there's something that feels very juvenile by the way how Lecky is writing this. I don't know. That's just how I took the, you know, the chatter and sort of the simplistic movements, which I don't know. I worry sometimes when I'm writing the way I have my characters sort of standing is a little too simplistic too. So I don't know. I don't know. There's just something that feels a little bit catty about this or petty. I don't know. And you know, I can't say that for sure. But it is reminding me, I feel like a lot of people are say Provenance isn't as beloved as the ancillary justice trilogy that she wrote before, even though they all take place in the same world. What? The phone felt so useless. She couldn't even see him. Not that she ever wanted to see him again, but hitting him might actually have made her feel better. What are you talking about? And where are you? She ignored his last question. When did Tim Wagner... She squeezed her eyes shut. He couldn't know she was crying. I'm so confused. What about Tim? I'm about to drive Brandon and Todd home, so I can't really talk. A gust of wind roared through the phone. Hold on. A door slammed. Okay, I'm in my car, but this has to be quick. He seemed so far away. It felt impossible that he was sitting in the parking lot of the school they both attended, a place where they'd claimed to be each other's best friend, that their previous life had even existed. But obviously it had, somehow, and somehow they had also gotten here. She took a breath and tried again. This afternoon, Tim Wagner came up to me and said... Tim had been so casual about it, and now she couldn't even force out the words. Tim what? I didn't tell him about that stuff if the... I don't care if you didn't tell him. The prospect of listening to him explain how he hadn't actually walked up to Tim and told him, as if that could possibly be the issue, made her want to throw the phone against the wall. At this point, I'd feel better if you did. Jeremy sighed. Well, that makes sense. Can you just tell me why you're calling? Can you not be an asshole? Okay, not trying to be, but I have no idea what you want me to say here. Well, then I don't either. Mariana didn't know what, exactly, she wanted from this conversation. Okay, so on second read, I am comparing it a bit to the first one, that like we're in media res again, but in like middle of conversations and all of that, but actually thinking now about how this remains rather unclear in a way. We don't even get the names of the two people talking, Jeremy and Mariana, until the very end of the page. And most of what they're talking about is this interaction with this Tim Wagner guy and like this maybe, you know, tense moment from the past between the two of them that might have come up with Tim Wagner, I guess, but it's all very vague on the page. We don't know what they're talking about. The only way we'd have any idea is if we had context from the rest of the story. The only thing I could assume really is that they are school friends or were school friends and are now in a more fraught situation. But, you know, the page seems to very much just be about them talking around each other and not really connecting. And I mean, if we had the context, you know, this could work in terms of like understanding their characters and the way that they operate, but certainly it gives us really little context on the page about what actually is going on between these characters, which is so different that even though in the other book, you know, there was such a variety of characters, I think you could really zero in on the specifics of the tension almost immediately. So that's an interesting, you know, comparison, and it certainly makes this book a little less feasible, I suppose, for winning the page 112 tag. Of course, he thought she was being too humble. The truth was, she really didn't remember. Actually, it's probably all a big mistake. I don't even want to go to college anyway. You don't want to go to college? Paul asked, not scandalized like the principal, but more like someone who just watched a 6-year-old choose broccoli over pizza. Just then, a tall guy with a camera around his neck and a skinny, bespectacled kid in a white Harvard sweatshirt walked up from behind. "Oh, here you are," camera guy said. "You're by the football trophy case. We were waiting for you by the hockey trophy case." "I knew you guys would get it wrong," Nate Ryan said. And then there's a break. After school, Diana had found a notary, walked there, convinced the notary to stamp the letter, paid his fee, and walked again to the impound lot, pet the skinny dog, and this time had to stand in line behind 2 women who, like Diana the day before, were attempting to locate Brad Bart's absent good nature. "You don't understand," one of the women kept saying. She was wearing a pink jacket that was too short for her and looked Mexican or maybe Salvadoran. "I understand that you owe this company $280, Brad Bart said. Diana did the math in her head. Their car had been impounded for 4 days. "What you don't understand is that you won't get your car back until you pay me. Next. Next." The women brushed past Diana and slammed the trailer door behind them, hard enough that it popped open again. "You mind closing that door?" Brad Bart asked. "Sure," Diana said, like a dork, and did what she was told. Okay, so this is sort of definitely the example of an en media res page where we're starting in the middle of a random conversation, so that kind of like puts you at a little bit of a distance because you don't have any of the context, and that's kind of the point. And for me, what it feels like, at least, like the first part's a little bit overwrought, or at least I guess the trophy case talk. I mean, maybe it was a joke from earlier and I would have liked it better, but in terms of like hearing it out of context, it feels like rather strained speech. I also make a fair amount of assumptions about this, like maybe they're at a college admissions fair, or just feels like maybe with a Harvard sweatshirt, maybe that's what's going on, and they were just talking about college, the 2 characters. It's intriguing that one of them says to the other, you don't want to go to college, and seems kind of impressed by it, going by the metaphor about pizza and broccoli, which could say something about, where he's coming from. Obviously there's a lot of different reasons people do or don't choose college, and we have no context for any of these people. But it's intriguing to think about. But I feel like the second part, just in general, was much more interesting about this page, where we're at the impound lot, and Brad Bart immediately comes off the page as a fun character. At least it's fun to read about him from afar. I'd probably not want to be in that trailer with him either, but that second part of the page kind of saved it for me. So like even, without context for the rest of the story, the character pops enough that, you kind of want to see how Diana's going to handle things. She's off to a rocky start, it feels like, but, hopefully she'll get what she came for, I guess, and have better luck than those other 2 women, I hope. Make way, it's present times. Say, hey, it's present times. Sorry, I'm about to do my Purim spiel, and this year we are spoofing Disney songs, so I'm doing the Prince Ali song as a spoof in that and practicing that. So anyway, here we are again. So to recap, my December book was Provenance by Anne Leckie. My January book was She's Not Home by Lena George. And my February book was The Lager Queen of Minnesota by J. Ryan Straddle. And after some deliberation, I have decided to go with this book to put on my March TBR. I think you might be able to tell from those clips that each of these books I found to be awkwardly en media res in conversations. And this one even had like a weird time jump, like from the weird Harvard conversation to the car dealership conversation. I guess it's kind of similar to Provenance, where there was conversation about these vestiges and then it turned into a birthday conversation. But the difference between these 2 books is that this book then went into Brad Bart, which was such an intriguing character to me that it kind of saved the page for me. And in this book, I guess it's a little unfair. I talk about how difficult it is in science fiction and fantasy, especially in this book. We have all of these sort of identity politics, and could, also be biology for aliens about how society works, and it's very difficult to understand in the middle of an argument, in the middle of the book, how it works. But I just did find it difficult to latch on to. And then with She's Not Home, as I mentioned, it is a contemporary book, but I feel like the characters were talking around each other so much that it just did not give the readers an easy in into the conversation. And again, I probably have that complaint with the first part of this page, but the second part gets us to Brad Bart. And I'm just going to say I'm a character reader. The character jumped out to me, and that's my justification for putting this on my March TBR. Okay, and now we get to the 2025 Buzzwordathon Cover Challenge. This is an annual challenge that Kayla at Books and Lala puts out. She has one for titles, and this year she had one for covers, which worked out really well for me and the particular stack of books that I am playing from. So I decided to go with the covers challenge month by month. And you can see from this graphic that I've been pulling my weight. I've done my January book and my February book, and now it's time to get into March. And the prompt for March is to pick a cover with a book on it. And so I'm going to go with On Fire Island by Jane L. Rosen, because as you can see here, there is a book on this cover. It is a cartoon book, but, you know, it's on the cover, so it counts. Future editing Rachel here. Yes, this video goes from past to present to future, but turns out my battery died on me before I could get to the outro, so that about covers it for me now. I'm also sorry for my particular lighting here in this orange face, but if you'd like to click away from it, I have left the Goodreads links for all of the books I mentioned in this video linked down below. I also hope to be back on this channel in the near future with my monthly Author's Answer video. The Author's Answer series is a collection of questions and answers put out by AuthorTuber J.D. Archer and his writing group, so stay tuned for that. In the meantime, I hope everyone is having fun playing their TBR games and hopefully getting to their reading in March. And thanks so much for watching, everyone. I'll see you next time.